Chosen one, I need you to stop for just a moment before this begins. Not because what I am about to say requires your emotion, but because it requires your honest attention. Because something has shifted in the atmosphere around your life, and I do not want you to miss what that shift means while you are still managing what life felt like before it happened. God is about to change everything in your life. Not one thing, not the thing you have prayed about the longest, everything at once. And that is not a phrase designed to make you feel better about a season that has not moved yet. That is an announcement about a specific moment in divine timing that has a name and a mechanism and a reason that most messages never give you. The reason your life has not shifted yet is not that you are not truly the one. You are. The reason is something specific, something that was running beneath your awareness, something that makes complete sense the moment someone explains it. And once you understand it, the next 8 minutes of your day will become the most important 8 minutes you have given to anything in a very long time. If you have ever felt like the promises were real but the delivery was off, if you have ever done everything right and still arrived at the same place, if something in you has been saying soon without the evidence yet to back it up, what you are about to hear is the explanation you did not know you were waiting for. Type "the change" is now in the comments below if you are ready to hear it, because that phrase is not just a comment. It is a declaration that you are still in the room when most people have decided to wait for confirmation before they show up. Stay exactly where you are. Chosen one, something is happening right now to a very specific kind of person. Not everyone, a specific kind. The kind who has believed long enough that belief itself has become a form of endurance. The kind who does not stop even when stopping would be the reasonable thing to do. The kind who carries something in their chest that is too certain to dismiss and too slow to manifest for comfort. If that is you, this message was not randomly placed in front of you. There is no such thing as randomly placed in the Kairos window. And what that word means, and why it matters more than anything else I will say today, is where we begin. Because there are two kinds of time. There is ordinary time, the kind that runs on clocks, on seasons, on years that pass. And then there is the other kind, the kind the ancient writers called Kairos, the appointed time, the weight-bearing moment. The moment that does not come around on a schedule but arrives when everything that was supposed to lead to it has finally led to it. You are in it, right now, not in general terms, in the most literal and specific sense available to the language I have. And what God is about to do inside this window is not the same category of thing He has done in previous seasons of your life. This is not a chapter turning. This is an architecture shifting, and you need to understand why. Because the how of what God is doing in this Kairos window is not what you expect. It is not coming from the direction you have been watching. And once you see where it is actually coming from, everything that has felt slow or delayed or somehow off will snap into a focus that you will not be able to unsee. That is what this message is, not encouragement borrowed from what has always been said. An explanation, a specific, honest, grounded explanation for why a chosen one who is sincere and faithful and present can still find themselves in a season where nothing has moved yet, and what is about to move everything at once. Chosen one, before we go any further, I want to hold something in front of you, a mirror. Not a flattering one, an accurate one. There are signs that appear in the life of a chosen one entering their Kairos window, not signs of arrival, signs of proximity. And I want to name them now because some of you have been experiencing these and interpreting them as evidence that something is wrong, when in fact they are evidence that something is very, very right. The first sign is a spiritual restlessness that has no clean object, You are not restless because of something specific. You are restless because something inside you knows the life you are living is not the full version you were designed to live, and it knows the gap between those two things is about to close. That restlessness is not a problem. It is a signal, the kind that arrives before a change so significant that the nervous system registers it before the mind can name it. The kind that feels like being on the edge of something enormous that you cannot yet see but can already feel the gravity of. The second sign is a pattern of almost the breakthrough, almost the relationship, finding its full form, almost the opportunity, materializing completely. The almost pattern is not the universe being cruel. It is not evidence that you are not chosen. It is a precise indicator that you are approaching the threshold where almost becomes fully. Almost does not happen to people who are not close. Almost only happens to people who are one specific adjustment away from the thing they have been moving toward. The third sign is an increase in resistance right before forward movement. This is one of the most consistent patterns in the life of a person entering a Kairos season. The weight increases right before the lifting happens. Not because the resistance is winning, because it knows what you do not yet fully know, that something is about to break open, and it is doing everything it can in these final days to keep you from arriving. The fourth sign is the feeling of being uniquely overlooked while watching others move forward in areas where you have been standing still. This sign feels the most like evidence against being chosen, and it is actually the most powerful evidence for it. The chosen one is not on the same timeline as everyone around them. They are on a specifically appointed timeline that looks late until the moment it looks exactly on time. And when it looks exactly on time, it looks more than on time. It looks like everything landed together because it did. The fifth sign is you, here, right now. Because the person who is not in the proximity of their Kairos window does not find this message meaningful. They find it general. The person who is in the window finds it specific in a way that goes beyond what words should be capable of. That specificity you are feeling right now is not your imagination. It is the recognition response of a person who is about to understand something that changes the entire interpretation of their life. Type 777 in the comments if you are still here, still listening, because what I am about to say is going to require you to update everything you have been told about how change works. Stay with me. The thing that has been slowing everything down is not spiritual in the way you have been thinking about it. It is not a faith problem. It is not a character issue. It is not that God has been withholding what belongs to you. It is something discovered in a research laboratory that explains with complete precision why a person who is spiritually sincere and genuinely faithful can still find themselves in a season where the promises are real, but the delivery is consistently off. Something was taken from you, not by your choices, by the world you grew up in. And it is restorable. When it is restored, everything God has arranged begins to arrive, not gradually, together. And that is not a metaphor. It is a mechanism, and you are about to understand it fully. Chosen one, let me name the thing that has been at work in your life. Let me give it the name it deserves, because it has been operating beneath your awareness long enough, and naming it is the first act of reclaiming it. I want to tell you about a period in your life when everything was different, when learning was effortless, when creativity arrived without asking for it, when you looked at a problem and the solution presented itself before you had to search, when your mind ran on something that felt like extra access, extra clarity, extra connection between your thoughts and the outcomes they were reaching for. Most of you remember this period even if you cannot describe what was different about it. It was the period before the world narrowed what you had access to, Before the pressure of becoming practical compressed the range of your thinking, before the speed of daily life gradually replaced depth with speed and called it productivity, you were younger then, and something about the mind you had then was closer to the design you were given than what most adults have available to them. What changed is not that you changed. What changed is that something was disrupted. Your brain has two hemispheres, and when those two hemispheres are operating in synchronization, a state becomes available that is simply not available when they operate separately. This state is what I am calling the dormant receiver. Not dormant because it is gone, dormant because it has been quieted, suppressed, not by anything you did wrong, but by everything the modern world does consistently to every human brain that passes through it. The noise, the fragmentation, the speed, the constant low-level stimulation that trains the brain to operate in reactive mode instead of receiving mode. Year by year, without announcement, the synchronization that was the default in childhood becomes the exception in adulthood. When the two hemispheres are synchronized, you are in receiving mode, the kind where the frequency of divine communication has something to land on that can hold it, where insight arrives in full sentences instead of fragments, where the right door presents itself and you know immediately which one it is, where timing stops feeling random and starts feeling arranged. That is the state the chosen one was designed to live in. That is the state that makes the Kairos window land with its full weight instead of passing through at partial impact. When the synchronization is disrupted, which is the default state for almost every adult, you still receive. But you receive at partial capacity. The signal is still being sent. The offer is still real. The Kairos window is still open, but the receiver is running below the level it was designed to run at. Some things land, some things almost land, and some things that were sent specifically to you pass through the atmosphere without finding the surface they were meant to reach. This is not your fault. This is not a spiritual failure. This is a biological reality that has a name and a solution and a documentation trail that goes back to a Nobel Prize. Understanding it is the first thing that needs to happen before anything else changes. When you see the actual mechanism, the entire experience of this season begins to look completely different. Not frustrating, explicable. Type, "The receiver is opening" in the comments if something in you just recognized what I said. The chosen one, in an extended season of almost, of close but not quite, of praying and arriving at the same place, is not failing. They are running the right race on equipment operating below its design level, and the equipment is not broken. It is dormant, and the difference between dormant and broken is everything that matters about what happens next. Chosen one, let me walk you through the first breakthrough, the one that most chosen ones need most urgently and find most relieving. The first breakthrough is this. The reason you are in an extended season is not that God has decided you need more time. It is not that you have done something that has placed you at the back of the line. It is not that the people around you who are moving forward somehow deserve it more than you do. The reason is something far more specific and far more solvable than any of those explanations. When the receiver is running at partial capacity, a particular kind of delay becomes the default, not a total block, not a complete absence of blessing. A specific kind of delay where things come close and then stop short, where you take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, and the math never quite resolves, where the discernment that should make decision-making clear arrives slightly too foggy to act on confidently, where the opportunities present themselves but the follow-through does not connect. This is what a receiver at partial capacity produces. Not absence. Inconsistency. And inconsistency is one of the most disorienting things a chosen one can experience, because there is enough happening to maintain hope and not enough resolution to break through. The second breakthrough is understanding what kind of thing disrupts hemisphere synchronization, because this is not random, this is a system, and systems that follow a pattern can be addressed at the pattern level. The three primary disruptors are these. The first is chronic, fragmented attention, the kind produced by a world that rewards reacting faster than it rewards thinking deeper. The second is a diet that is systematically depleted of the nutritional foundation the brain needs to maintain its own synchronization. The third is the accumulated load of unresolved emotional weight that the body carries not as memory, but as a low-frequency tension that interferes with the kind of mental stillness synchronization requires. Every person in the modern world is navigating at least two of these three. Most are navigating all three, and they are navigating them while also trying to fulfill a spiritual calling that requires the full capacity of the mind they were given. Type "I understand" in the comments if what you are hearing right now is rearranging something in the way you have been interpreting this season, because the rearrangement is the beginning of the restoration. Now I want to pause here and hold something in front of you that I am going to come back to later in this message. Over the past several years, a team of researchers led by a neurologist in New York City has been doing something that I believe was not coincidental timing in the context of this Kairos season. They have been taking what took decades to discover in clinical laboratories and making it available in a form that a chosen one can use at home in 8 minutes a day. I am going to tell you more about what they found and what they built later in this message. But right now, hold this question. What if the fog is not who you are? What if it is something that was placed on you? And what if it takes less than most people assume to remove it? Because that is the question this season has been building toward, and the answer to it is closer than anything you have found before. The receiver is not broken. The receiver is dormant. And dormant things wake up. That is what dormant means. Chosen one. Now I want to name the obstacle. Not the circumstantial obstacle. Not the obstacle that lives in your schedule or your finances or your relationships. The internal obstacle. The one that lives at the level of the receiver. Because this is the one that, when removed, causes all the other obstacles to begin resolving in a way you could not have engineered from the outside. The obstacle has a name. I am calling it the suppression pattern. The suppression pattern is not a single thing. It is an accumulation. It is the cumulative effect of years of operating in an environment that was optimizing for something other than what you were designed for. Every day that the fragmented attention model was the default, a small amount of synchronization capacity was traded for speed. Every day that the nutritional depletion continued, the neurological foundation for synchronization became thinner. Every day that unresolved weight accumulated in the body, the stillness required for full receiving became harder to access. And none of this was dramatic. None of it announced itself. It was slow, consistent, quiet, and over years it produced what feels like a permanent reduction, but is in fact a dormancy that can be reversed. The suppression pattern produces very specific experiences in the life of a chosen one. The first is what I would call divine signal lag. You pray, you seek, you listen, and what comes back slightly delayed, slightly muffled, slightly less clear than you know in your spirit it should be. Not absent, lagging. Like receiving a message that was sent in full but arriving incomplete because the receiver lost some of its processing speed in transit. The second experience is what I call creative compression. You know you carry creative capacity. You have had moments of it throughout your life. But in the regular days, in the normal working hours, you find yourself operating below the level you know is available to you, as if a door to a larger room inside your mind is there but slightly stuck. Open enough to remind you it exists, not open enough to live in it fully. The third experience is what I would call the fog of the almost, the state where decision-making that should be sharp is soft, where the right choice is visible but the conviction to move on, it takes longer than it should, where you start things with clarity and arrive in the middle of them in a fog that was not there at the beginning. These are not character flaws. These are the exact and predictable experiences of a person whose hemisphere synchronization is running below design level. They are symptoms, and symptoms have causes, and causes have solutions. And the solution to these specific symptoms is not more willpower, not more journaling, not more anything that operates at the level of conscious effort. It is something that addresses the biology at the level beneath conscious effort. Now I want to show you something. I want to paint a picture for you, not of where you are right now, of where you are going, of what the life of the chosen one looks like when the dormant receiver is restored and the Kairos window receives them in full capacity. Picture the version of yourself who wakes up and the clarity is there before you have done anything to generate it, where the day arranges itself in a way that feels guided instead of managed, where the creative solution to the thing that has been stuck arrives not at the end of a long, effortful session, but in the first quiet minutes of the morning, where the prayer feels like a conversation with signal on both sides, where the synchronicities that have been occasional become consistent because the receiver that they were always being sent to is finally running at the level that can catch them. That is not a fantasy version of your life. That is the design version, and you are closer to it than you know. The distance between where you are and that version of yourself is not years of work. It is one specific restoration, and that restoration is available. And it is closer to the Kairos window you are already in than anything you have been told to wait for. Chosen one, I want to introduce you to someone whose story contains the template for what is happening in your life right now with a precision that is not coincidence. His name was Joseph. Joseph was given a dream at a young age, a clear, specific, unmistakable communication from God about who he was going to become and what his life was going to mean. And then, for the next 22 years, everything that happened appeared to be the opposite of that dream. He was betrayed, he was sold, he was imprisoned. He was forgotten by the person who promised to remember him. And in every single one of those seasons, the dream was not revoked. The Kairos appointment was not cancelled. The receiver was being prepared. What the story of Joseph illustrates is something that most chosen ones need to understand at a biological level, not just a spiritual one. The preparation period is not evidence against the promise. The preparation period is the period in which everything required for the receiver to hold what is coming is being put in place. Joseph could not have governed Egypt with the same character he had at 17. The character required to hold that appointment required every season that looked like failure to produce it. But here is what I want you to notice. Not one moment of the life of Joseph preparation was wasted. Not one. Every moment of delay contained something that the arrival would require. And here is the second breakthrough. The second thing the chosen one in the extended season needs to understand. The preparation is not only spiritual. Joseph did not spend 22 years only praying and trusting. He administered, he organized. He learned how systems work at a granular level. He developed practical capacity that his spiritual calling alone could not have produced. The biology of his preparation and the spirituality of his preparation were not separate things. They were the same formation happening in 2 dimensions at once. Your receiver is being prepared the same way, not just spiritually, biologically. And the biological dimension of that preparation is something you have access to, something you can participate in actively, something that is not passive waiting, but active restoration. And the time this takes is not the years that Joseph required, because the discovery that is now available was not available in the life of Joseph time. Type I carry the, calling in the comments, if you have felt at times like the dream you were given at the beginning of your spiritual journey and the evidence of your current season do not yet agree. Because that gap is not the end of the story. It is the chapter before the chapter that makes the whole story make sense. And I want you to hold something as we continue. The Kairos window that is open right now over your life is not the beginning of your story. It is the arrival of what your whole story has been building toward. Every season that felt like loss was depositing something into the capacity you will need when everything changes. What God is about to do in your life is not random grace. It is the fulfillment of a formation that has been underway for longer than you have been tracking it. The question is not whether you are ready. The question is whether the receiver is operating at the level that allows readiness to translate into reception. And that is the question this message is going to answer completely before it ends. Let me say something about the chosen one in the extended preparation season. There is a quality of faith that forms in the person who has stayed in the season of almost long enough. It is not louder than the faith that has not been tested at that depth. It is quieter, more certain. Certain not of the timing, but of the calling. That kind of certainty does not form in comfort. It forms in the furnace. And it is the kind of certainty the Kairos season requires to hold what is arriving. Chosen one, I want to speak now about the physical dimension of what the chosen one experiences in the formation season. Because the body tells the truth about the receiver in ways the mind sometimes cannot access. There are physical signs that appear when the dormant receiver is active, when the hemisphere synchronization is running below design level. These are not imaginary signs. They are not psychosomatic. They are the natural output of a system that is attempting to function with a disrupted foundation. The first physical sign is what I would describe as weight without cause, a heaviness that is present in the body even after adequate sleep, a fatigue that is not explained by what you did the day before. The kind of tiredness that feels more like carrying something invisible than recovering from something visible. This is the body communicating the cost of maintaining function while running in the fragmented mode. It is not weakness. It is a signal from the nervous system that something at the foundation level needs attention. The second physical sign is brain fog that appears at the wrong times. Not when you are tired, when you most need clarity, when the decision is in front of you, when the conversation requires you to be fully present, when the creative solution should be accessible. Instead, a kind of film covers the clarity, a slight delay between thought and expression, a sense of having something to say but needing longer than it should take to form it. This is the output of a receiver that is processing in segments instead of in the synchronized flow it was designed for. The third physical sign is a disruption in the experience of time. Days that feel long and thin, weeks that pass without the sense that something was built. A compression of time that makes meaningful forward movement feel slower than the calendar confirms it actually is. This is the experience of a person operating without the synchronization that creates what researchers call flow state, the state in which time both expands and condenses in a way that allows 20 minutes of synchronized thinking to produce what would otherwise require hours. The fourth physical sign is disrupted sleep of a specific kind, not the inability to sleep, the inability to arrive at the depth of sleep where restoration happens. Waking in the early hours with the mind already running at a low hum, not rested, not refreshed, but functional enough to return to the day and do it again. This cycle is not a character flaw. It is the nervous system of a person whose synchronization pattern needs restoring. And here is what all four of these physical signs point to: not weakness, not failure of spiritual practice, not the need for more effort. They point to a system operating below its designed baseline. And a system operating below its designed baseline does not need to be replaced. It needs to be restored to baseline. And baseline restoration is not the same as the lifelong work of spiritual formation. It is something faster, something more specific, something that addresses the biological layer directly. Type 333 in the comments if you have experienced any of these four physical signs consistently in this season. Because you are not alone in this, and the experience you have been having makes complete sense when you understand what is producing it. Stay with me. There is something coming in this message that is going to change what you do after it ends. The body has been telling you the truth the whole time. The receiver has been dormant, and the body has been carrying the signal of that dormancy. And the body that was designed to be a temple, designed to carry the calling with full physical capacity, is about to be restored to the version of itself that the Kairos appointment requires. Chosen one, I want to give you a second image, another scene from the life you are moving toward. Not the general version, the specific version, the one that belongs to who you actually are, to what you are actually called to what your Kairos season is actually building toward. Picture the version of yourself in a relationship, whether that is your marriage, your closest friendship, your working relationship, where the presence you bring is the full presence, where you arrive without the invisible load that has been making you arrive at partial presence for longer than you realize, where the other person experiences you as someone who is genuinely there, not managing being there while managing everything else running in the background. Where the connection that is supposed to be one of the primary ways you give and receive in this life is actually functioning at the level it was designed to function at. Picture the version of yourself in the financial dimension of your life, where the clarity that should govern your decisions is available when the decision is in front of you, where the creative solutions to the material challenges arrive as a natural output of a mind running at full capacity instead of as rare breakthroughs that arrive by grace and then disappear before they can be fully implemented. Where the insight that was always available to you as a designed capacity is now available as a consistent experience instead of an occasional one. Picture the version of yourself in your calling, in the specific thing God placed you on earth to do, where the work comes from a place of overflow instead of a place of effortful production, where the content, the service, the ministry, the creation, whatever form your calling takes, flows from a synchronized mind that has access to the full depth of what you carry instead of the fraction of it that has been getting through. These are not fantasy versions of your life. They are the design versions. And the distance between where you are and those versions is not years of additional spiritual formation. It is one specific restoration that addresses the layer beneath all the spiritual work you have already done. The spiritual work is real. The spiritual work is valuable. The spiritual work has been building something genuine. What has been missing is the biological foundation that allows the spiritual work to land fully in the life it was done for. And here is the fourth breakthrough, the one that may be the most practically important thing I say in this entire message. The restoration of hemisphere synchronization does not require willpower. It does not require you to do something hard for a long time. It does not require you to add something significant to an already full life. It requires something specific, something targeted, something that works at the biological level beneath the level where effort operates. Because the problem was not created by insufficient effort, and it will not be solved by more of the same. Type "I am ready" in the comments right now if something in your spirit is saying yes to what is being described. Not because saying yes in a comment accomplishes something mechanically, because saying yes out loud, even in text, is a form of claiming. And the chosen one who is entering their Kairos season has been quiet about what they are ready for long enough. Say it, "I am ready," because the next part of this message is going to show you exactly what this restoration looks like and why it is available to you right now. The spiritual work is real. The spiritual work has been building something genuine. What has been missing is the biological foundation that allows the spiritual work to land fully in the life it was done for. And that foundation is restorable, not through more effort, through something more specific. And that something is what comes next. Chosen one, we are at the midpoint of this message, and I want to name something before we cross into the second half, because the first half has been about the problem, and I want you to hold what I am about to say as the bridge between understanding the problem and understanding the solution. The fifth breakthrough is this: the Kairos window and the dormant receiver are not separate problems. They are one system, and God does not fix one without the other. The reason your Kairos has not yet produced what you expected it to produce is not that the window missed you. It is that the window has been waiting for the receiver to come online. Because the Kairos appointment was always designed to land in a fully synchronized mind, not because God is withholding the blessing from the partially synchronized person, but because the blessing that belongs to a Kairos season is too large, too complex, too multidimensional to be received in a fragmented state. It requires the full architecture. I am calling this the Kairos alignment. The Kairos alignment is not a spiritual technique. It is a description of what happens when two things that were always meant to arrive together, the divine timing and the restored receiver, arrive at the same moment. When the hemisphere synchronization is restored and the Kairos window is open, the two systems meet, and at the intersection, everything God has been preparing begins to land, not one at a time, together. Because that is how divine timing works, when the receiver is ready, not sequentially, in waves. Think about what that means for the things you have been waiting for. The relationships that have been close but not fully opened. The financial shift that has been visible but not materialized. The creative breakthrough that has been accessible and then not. The clarity about purpose that arrives in moments but does not sustain. All of these are not separate waiting rooms. They are all waiting on the same threshold. And the threshold is the receiver coming online. When the receiver comes online, the Kairos alignment produces something that looks to the outside world like everything happening at once, like sudden acceleration. Like a person who was steady but slow, who is suddenly moving at a speed that does not match the previous rate. And the outside world calls it luck. And the inside world knows it is not luck. It is the arrival of what was always coming, finding a receiver that can finally hold it all. Here is what I want you to understand about the season you are entering. You are not entering a season of gradual improvement. You are entering a season of Kairos alignment. And Kairos alignment does not look like a gradual curve. It looks like a before and an after, a line that gets crossed, a moment where the life before and the life after are distinctly, unmistakably different. That is what is ahead of you. That is what everything changing actually means. Not everything improving, everything aligning. Type, "The Kairos alignment is mine" in the comments right now, not as a wish, as a claim. Because the person who types that in this moment is doing something that the dormant receiver has not been able to do in a long time. They are speaking from the receiving position, not the waiting position. And that shift is the first movement of the alignment itself. Before we continue, I need to come back to something I mentioned earlier, the discovery I told you about at the beginning of this message, the one from the research laboratory, the one that explains the specific mechanism of restoration. I told you I would come back to it, and I want to come back to it now, because you now understand enough to receive what I am about to say about it in a completely different way than you would have at the beginning of this message. What they found changes what is possible for you, not abstractly, specifically. And the path from where you are standing right now to the Kairos alignment is not as long as this season has made it feel. Chosen One, I told you at the beginning of this message that there was something discovered in a research laboratory that I was going to come back to. And I told you I was waiting until this moment to bring it forward. Because what they found is not information you can receive fully until you understand the full shape of what it solves. You now understand the shape. So, let me close that loop now. Several years ago, a team of neuroscientists began working on a question that most of their colleagues were not asking. Not how do we treat the brain when it is damaged, but how do we restore the brain to the baseline it was designed to operate at when the conditions of modern life have gradually disrupted that baseline. What does it take to bring the dormant receiver back online? Not in a clinical setting, not over months of intensive intervention, but in a form that a person living a full life can actually use. The research they built on goes back to 1981, to work that won the Nobel Prize, conducted by Dr. Roger Sperry, a researcher who spent years studying what happens in the brain when the two hemispheres operate in coordination versus when they operate in isolation. What Dr. Sperry found was that the brain, in its coordinated state, produces capacities that the isolated hemispheres cannot produce independently. Not just more of the same output, a qualitatively different kind of output. The creative breakthroughs, the clear decision-making, the sense of knowing, the access to intuition that the Chosen One is designed to operate on. All of these are the output of coordinated hemispheres. None of them are reliably available from hemispheres operating without synchronization. But here is what most people who have heard about this research have not heard about. The team of neuroscientists who built on the work of Dr. Sperry did not stop at identification. They built a solution, and the solution is not expensive. It is not complicated. It does not require clinical supervision. It does not require a schedule adjustment that a full life cannot absorb. Now, I want to hold something in front of you before I describe what they built, because the thing they built answers a question you have been carrying for longer than you have had language for it. Why does knowing all of this still not produce the shift on its own? Why does the insight stay as insight and not become movement? Why does the revelation arrive and feel real in the moment, and then not fully change what changes? The answer to that question is not in your mind. It is not in your spiritual practice. It is somewhere you have not yet looked, and that is exactly where they looked. And what they found there is what we are about to discuss. Type "Show me the way" in the comments right now if you are at the threshold. If you have been close for long enough, that close is no longer enough. If you are ready to have the mechanism named and the solution placed in front of you, because what comes next is the most specific, most actionable, most directly applicable part of this entire message, and it is coming for the Chosen One who is still in the room. You are about to understand exactly what this season has been building toward. 5 is, and what the next 8 minutes of your day, taken in the right way, will do to the life that is waiting for the receiver to come online. Chosen one, let me give you the plain version of what this message has covered, because what comes next requires clarity. Here is what is true. Your brain has 2 hemispheres. In childhood, those hemispheres synchronized naturally and produced the clear, connected state you may remember from earlier in your life. The modern world gradually disrupted that synchronization. That disruption is biological in mechanism, not spiritual in origin. It produced the specific experiences this message has been naming: the fog, the almost pattern, the wait without cause, the insight that arrives incomplete. None of those experiences are permanent. They are the output of a system running below its designed baseline, and there is a specific, documented, research-backed way to restore the baseline. That clarity you just received is real, but clarity alone is not movement. A team of neuroscientists, led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York, spent years doing the following. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized medical settings, and through an intensive compression and refinement process, they turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day. Headphones, eyes closed. That is the entirety of the physical requirement. They call it the genius switch. It is not a brainwave product, not a meditation app. It is a targeted auditory sequence specifically engineered based on the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry to reconnect the 2 hemispheres and restore the whole brain activation that was the default state in childhood. Before I tell you more, let me tell you about 2 people. A woman from California described what it felt like before she found this. She had tried everything: prayer, journaling, meditation, every practice her community offered, and she kept arriving at the same experience. She believed the words. She could not feel the reality behind them. After 10 days, she said something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was suddenly open. Not because she tried harder. Because the receiver had been repaired. A man from Texas described something similar. Someone who had spent years holding things together for everyone around him while his own interior life became thin and distant. He said prayer had started to feel like talking into a wall. 2 weeks later, he described his mind as running on all of what it was supposed to run on. The fog that had been so consistent, he stopped registering it as fog was gone. That is because of what the team doctor, Daniel Barone, leads discovered. The genius switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but the mind that must walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has felt the call clearly and kept returning to it even when the evidence was not cooperating. Colleagues suggested this would be incredible value even at $500. In-person neurofeedback runs $300 an hour. A home machine runs $7,000, not $500, not $200. Released at $49. Today on this page, $10 off, $39. Backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen once, listen 80 times. If it does not do what it has done for 18,000 people, every dollar is returned. No conditions. If your spirit resonates, the link in the description below and in the pinned comment points to where Dr. Barone and his team made it available. The tool does not replace God. The tool does not replace obedience. What God is doing in you is not conditional on any tool. But a tool that restores the receiver gives what God is doing more of what it was designed to land in. Chosen one. For those whose spirit confirmed what was described, that door is still open in the description below. It is a small step, but small steps taken from a clear mind have changed entire seasons. That is the only time I will name it directly in what remains. The rest of this message belongs entirely to something else. Now I want to speak to the resistance, because there is a voice in the room right now, in some of you, that is pushing back on what you just heard. And I want to name that voice before it does its work, in the quiet after this message ends. The first resistance says, I have tried things before and they did not work. I hear that, and I want to name what is different here. What has not worked before was not addressing the biological layer directly. Most of what the Chosen One has been given addresses the spiritual layer, the emotional layer, the mental layer. All of those are real and valuable. What has been missing is the foundation beneath those layers, the neurological baseline that allows all the spiritual work to land. Addressing the biology is not adding something to what you have already tried. It is addressing what all of it has been sitting on top of. The second resistance says, I do not have time for one more thing. And I want to say this clearly. 8 minutes is not one more thing. 8 minutes is not a practice. It is not a discipline. It is not an addition to a life that is already full. It is 8 minutes of restoration that the remaining 23 hours and 52 minutes of your day will feel the benefit of. That is not a trade-off. That is an investment with the most direct ROI available to a person in your position. The third resistance says this feels too specific to be spiritually real. And I want to say this: God has never been exclusive to one domain. He has always operated through the natural world and the supernatural world simultaneously. The research that supports this is not a contradiction to faith. It is a confirmation that what God designed for the human brain is a system of such precision that a Nobel Prize had to be created to honor the discovery of it. The science and the sacred are not in conflict here. They are describing the same architecture from two different vantage points. The fourth resistance says, maybe I am just not chosen the way the message says I am. And to that I want to say something directly. The chosen one who doubts their chosen status most intensely is not the one who is farthest from it. They are often the one who is closest. Because the resistance is most active at the threshold, not in the middle of the desert, at the edge of the promised land. What you are feeling as doubt is often the last expression of a resistance that knows the arrival is imminent. Type I push through now in the comments if you recognize that voice and you are choosing not to let it be the final word. Because the chosen one who pushes through the last resistance at the Kairos threshold is the one who arrives at the Kairos alignment. And you are at the threshold. What comes next is the closing of this season and the beginning of what was always coming. Stay exactly where you are. And I want to add one more thing about the resistance before we move forward. The chosen one, who has been in the formation season the longest, has developed the deepest version of this resistance. Not because they are weak, because they have been tested at the depth that produces it. The person who has believed for 6 months has a light version of the resistance. The person who has believed for 6 years has a resistance that has been refined by 6 years of having to maintain belief in the absence of full manifestation. And the depth of the resistance is not the measure of how far the arrival is. It is often the measure of how significant the arrival will be when it comes. The larger the promise, the more formidable the resistance at the threshold, because the resistance knows what is on the other side of the threshold better than the mind of the believer does. And its urgency right now is not evidence against what is coming. It is evidence for it. Chosen one, before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life. But first I want to give you something to take into that closing. A practice, not a discipline you add to your schedule. An activation, a single specific thing you are going to do right now that prepares the receiver to hold what the sacred closing is going to seal. I want you to bring your attention to your body, not to your thoughts, not to the content of this message, to the physical sensation of being present in this moment. Take one slow breath, not a dramatic one, a real one. Feel the breath move through the body. Notice the temperature of the air as it arrives. Notice the release as it leaves. And in the space after the release, before the next breath, notice what is there, not what you think about what is there. What is actually there? Most of you will notice something in the chest, a kind of holding, a low-level tension that has become so consistent you have stopped registering it as tension and started experiencing it as the default texture of being awake. That tension is the body holding the weight of the formation season. It is not a character flaw. It is the physical record of a chosen one who has been carrying the weight of a calling in a body that has been running below the capacity needed to carry it without cost. Now I want you to do something with that tension. Not push it away, not analyze it. Just let it be seen. Let it be acknowledged as the real thing it is. Say this in your mind, or out loud if you are somewhere you can do that. Say this out loud. I see you. I see what you have been carrying, and I am releasing it to the same source that assigned the calling that required it. Feel the breath again, slower this time, and notice that the holding in the chest, whatever degree you experienced it, has shifted slightly. Not because you did something complex, because you did something specific. You practiced the thing the restored receiver does naturally. You brought the two modes, the feeling and the seeing, into coordination. You let the fragmented mode become, for one breath, the synchronized mode. And in that one breath, you experienced, briefly, what the Kairos alignment feels like in the body. That is what is available to you consistently every day, as a baseline, not as a peak experience you chase, as the operating standard of a restored receiver. Before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life, something that your spirit needs to hear at the level where the body holds it, not just the level where the mind processes it. So, I want you to stay exactly where you are, because what is about to be said is for the season you are leaving and the season you are entering. And both of those realities deserve to be met with the full presence of the chosen one who has made it to this moment. Type 777 in the comments right now if you are ready to receive the closing. If you are ready to hear your Kairos season named and sealed and sent forward with everything it was always designed to carry. You made it to this moment. That is not a small thing. The person who makes it to this moment in a message like this is not the person who stumbled here by accident. They are the person who was always going to be here. And what comes next is for them. Chosen one, this is the closing. And I want to speak it over you now. You are not in this season by accident. The Kairos window that is open over your life was not opened last week. It was opened before you were born. For this exact moment, every delay was formation. Every almost was proximity. Every season of wait was the furnace producing the character that the appointment requires. And the appointment is not arriving someday. It is arriving now. I want you to take one more breath. And in that breath, I want you to release the version of yourself that still believes the delay was a verdict. That version served its purpose. It kept you humble. It kept you returning. It kept you from arriving before you were ready, but its work is done. And the version of yourself that steps forward from this moment is the one who carries everything the formation season deposited without carrying the interpretation of it as abandonment. Do this with me. Gently, wherever you are, press your hand to your chest. Feel the heartbeat. That rhythm is not accidental. It is the rhythm that God chose for the body that carries what you carry. And right now, in this Kairos moment, I want you to receive this. You are restored. You are ready. You are truly the one. Type "I am the chosen one" in the comments, not as performance, as arrival, as the declaration of a person who has crossed the threshold from waiting to receiving, because that is what you are. That is who you have always been, and everything is about to confirm it. If you felt something stir when the mind was mentioned earlier, the resource from the team Dr. Barone leads is in the description and pinned comment. That is the only place I will mention it. The rest of this closing belongs to you entirely. It is sealed, and so it is. You came into this message carrying the weight of a season that did not always make sense. You are leaving it with an understanding that makes every part of that season make sense. Every day that the receiver was dormant was a day the formation was running. Every day that the Kairos window felt like it was passing without you was a day it was being held open for this exact moment of understanding. God does not change everything in the life of the chosen one and then leave them to figure out what happened. He changes everything and gives them the understanding of why, so they can walk forward with the kind of clarity that sustains what the Kairos alignment produces. That understanding is what this message has been, and now it belongs to you. Go forward, chosen one. The receiver is coming online. The alignment is beginning, and everything is about to confirm what you have already been told.